Well, hello again. I'm Trudy, One Grounded Angel. This is the weekly angel card reading video for the week beginning Monday, September the 9th through to the 15th, 2019. So we have a full moon happening towards the end of this week in Pisces. Pisces is a sign associated with creativity, with compassion, deeply psychic or spiritual. So you might you might feel like you're having some breakthroughs in that area, particularly if you've got a creative project that you want to bring into being or bring to fruition. Or if you're trying to solve a problem, perhaps you'll get some deep insights about what's really going on there. And if you're overextending, Pisces is often associated with self-sacrifice, so you might start to get some pushback there from your body, perhaps if you're giving too much and not giving yourself any love or letting other people help you. Perhaps you'll get some pushback. So yeah, those are some of the ways that the Pisces energy might make itself known. Pisces is a very dreamy energy. Perhaps you'll have some intense dreams towards the end of this week as well. If so, really pay attention to what's going on there, because even though they're not literal, if you can look up the really key symbols that stand out to you from that, that might give you some insight. They're not necessarily trying to tell you what's going to happen. Sometimes that is the case. Certainly has never been the case for me. For me, they're normally metaphorical, but definitely pay attention. So Monday, God, this is a really inconvenient time for my eye to be really itchy. So Monday's card here for the 9th of September is All That Glitters. So we actually started last week, you might recall, with a strong golden card, and the message is all about abundance again and money. So we all know the saying, all that glitters is not gold. Make sure you're not pursuing something because it is going to make you rich, or maybe make you look important. Now, there's nothing wrong with wealth, and there's nothing wrong with having a public image. The problem is seeing those as making those real values, and seeing those as being attaching your value to those. They're just byproducts. They're not that important. They're not something to aspire to necessarily. They may happen, but they're not the things that make you valuable, if that makes sense. So make sure you're not, I guess, chasing false gods, if I can put it that way. And make sure you're not getting sucked in by other people's stuff. You might fall for someone's sob story. You might get taken in by a scam. All that sort of thing might be coming up for you. So things are not what they seem here. And make sure that's the message that comes through. And make sure also that you're really taking time to look beneath the surface and pay attention to your intuition about what's actually going on here. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. So really pay attention to what your intuition is telling you about that. Sometimes we rush ahead because we actually don't want to listen to it, because we want that good thing to be true. But we need to stop and do some self-reflection often before we move forward. Tuesday, romance angels are helping you. Okay, so obviously if you are single and looking for love, this is going to mean something pretty significant to you. The angels are helping you. So there are specific types of angels. You might like to work with the romance angels. They are very good at helping people find love. But as I explained last week, it's not a mail ordered deal. You can't just ask for a soulmate and think they're just going to knock on my door. I wish it worked like that. Unfortunately, you've got to do the work. And I don't mean going and putting yourself on every single app every single dating agency. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things. I'm just saying it isn't about needing to put yourself out there. It's about making sure you remove all the things you have put in the way of finding love. So, for example, if you've got blocks around trust, you actually need to work with a therapist or an energy healer to work through those. Otherwise, you're just going to keep attracting people who you actually can't trust, because that's in your stuff. So be really mindful of where your issues are. If you had to fight for love as a child or fight for attention, that's still in your stuff, and that means you're going to be attracted to people who are not emotionally available, who don't see the value in you, that sort of thing. I'm oversimplifying here, but what I'm trying to say is, when I talk about how you need to put in the work to actually attract love, it's not just about you needing to go out and actively date. It's about you needing to make yourself the most healed person you can be, so that you're actually able to hold space for a healthy relationship if the relationships that you've attracted so far, or even if you've attracted no relationships but just unhealthy kind of hookups or situations, if you look at the pattern, if you keep attracting people who are not available, or people who are not really that into you, or whatever it is, look for the patterns. And that will tell you something about what's going on in your stuff, and you need to actually get some help to work through it. It's not going to get better. You're not unlucky. You've just got stuff that you need to work through, and it's not just going to go away as soon as you meet the right person, because you're not going to be able to meet the right person unless you're able to actually heal yourself and to work through those issues. It's not easy, but look, I certainly wouldn't have been able to attract my soulmate if I had continued the way I was going before actually working with an energy healer. So I personally can vouch for the fact that it works, but I would say that I'm an energy healer. So whatever works for you, but definitely be working through your stuff. That's how you attract a relationship. People talk about you just need to love yourself more. People told me that all the time when I was single. I personally didn't find it that helpful, because what does that even mean? How do you actually love yourself? It's well intentioned, but I just don't think it's that helpful. So what I would say instead is just look at where you're getting stuck when it comes to love. What are your issues, and work through those. And particularly look at what messages you were sent about love as a child. Now, if you're already in a relationship with your soulmate, there's still something in this card for you. Bring back the romance. Now, what happens in a long-term relationship is it gets hijacked by kids, by job, by stress, etc. and smartphones, as I mentioned last week with the communication message. So you need to be kind of injecting this a bit more romance in, and not taking each other for granted. Make some fun dates happen, or book a holiday together, or just it doesn't have to cost money, just some romantic gestures, cute texts, whatever it is. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. You have to figure it out for yourself. But Esther Perel, a psychologist, I really recommend you look up her TED Talks. It's pretty interesting. She says that what's challenging about love is that we have these combined juxtaposing desires for novelty and for security. And so when you've been together a long time, the novelty goes out the window. And so you need to make sure you're still investing in that. And it doesn't mean go crazy, become a different person, trying to introduce a new person to the relationship. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But it's not about going to extremes, is what I'm saying. It's about novelty. Can be anything from mixing up the routine to getting some sexy outfits, or just anything that's different. You don't want to get stuck in a rut, because that's really not great for a relationship. So, and I'm not going to tell you how to do that, because it's got to be something that's right for you and your relationship, and everybody's different. So that's where, let's leave it at that, because otherwise I'm going to go down a massive rabbit hole here, because I do so much work around relationships, and I could talk about it non-stop, because that's the majority of the clients that I attract want to work on relationship stuff. And it's not surprising, because that was my stuff for a very long time, and still partly is. Your problems don't go away just because you're in the relationship. There's always more work to do on helping yourself move in more deeply and show up more deeply into that connection. So, and I attract people who mirror my own stuff, typically, or my own history. Wednesday, heart chakra. Oh my goodness, everything I just said. Let's just rewind the tape. Everything I just said, it's about your blocks to love. So the heart chakra is one of the energy centers in your energy field that life force energy moves through. It gets out of balance and it gets blocked. This in particular gets blocked by grief and loss. Every chakra has sort of particular blocks, and that for the heart chakra, which is about the way we give and receive love. Remember, we need to be able to do both. It's all about, where are those blocks? If you're grieving for someone, what have you taken on board besides the pain? What have you taken on board from that? Have you taken on board the message that it's not safe for me to trust people because everyone leaves me, or whatever it is? That's a challenging one, actually, grief. So I tend to talk more about the loss side of things. So looking at your romantic history again, and what you've taken on board as a result of the losses you've suffered. There's this idea that when the heart's broken, it doesn't heal, but I've found that it can heal if we let it heal. Sometimes we don't want to, because of the beliefs we've taken on board as a result. So there's that beautiful quote from Rumi about, It's not about searching for love or seeking for love. It's about removing all the barriers you've put up against it. So that's what I said earlier about your stuff, your blocks, your the wounding you've got around love, and we've all got it. Even if you haven't ever been in a romantic relationship, there will be something there around your understanding of love. And again, it might not necessarily be romantic, it could be platonic. Friendship breakups can be devastating. So here we have Thursday's message, beginnings, which I think is going to be very apt for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, because this tree, here is a tree losing its leaves, and you're about to go into those colder months. So the copy on this card says, I cherish all the cycles in my life, and that's why the seasonal message has been depicted. So we have seasons as well, just like nature. We have new beginnings, we have middles, and we have endings. So I get a lot of cards come up around letting go, and that's because that's the ending, and we need to go through the ending to get to the new beginning. So this is asking you to be open to new beginnings coming through, and make sure you're not blocking them by trying to reread the last chapter of the book that you just went through. So be open to new beginnings. If you have been offered a particular opportunity that kind of sets you on fire but also terrifies you, the message here is you need to go for it. So it's okay to be scared. Fear usually doesn't go away on its own, and often can be an indicator we're on the right track. So perhaps the message here for you is trust in that new beginning. You don't have to know everything before you get started. I certainly didn't know what I was doing when I launched this business, and I still don't have all the answers, and I hope I never do, because that means my story's completed. So yeah, just trust in the magic of new beginnings, because there is something in there for you to learn, even though it's hard and scary. That's just the deal of being human. So make sure you're not blocking them, those new beginnings from coming through. Let's look at Friday here. We've got miracle. So miracle is an overused word, I would say, and it doesn't necessarily mean the biggest stuff. It can be low grade kind of miracles. It's about things happening that you don't think are likely or possible. Holding space for things to happen even though they seem almost impossible, or you think that'll never happen for me. Maybe it is around romance. Maybe one of the blocks that you put up about it against a healthy relationship is not believing it's even possible for you anymore because of the disappointments you've been through. And I hear you, I've certainly been through that. But we need to make sure that we don't let our past history determine our expectations for the future. So yeah, look at where you need to open up to hope a little bit more. Maybe the miracle could be anything. Thinking, oh, I'll never change. You're trying to set up a healthy regimen and you keep struggling with it. Maybe the miracle is believing that it's possible for you to change, and maybe the miracle is believing in that new beginning. I'm possibly trying to tie things up a bit too much with a neat bow there, but of course I'm very conscious that all of you are in different places, life stages, cities, going through vastly different experiences, although there are common themes. So sometimes I kind of riff in different directions because I'm trying to cover all my bases with where you're at, but I really can't do that. I've only got limited time, so I'm throwing out random ideas occasionally just to help you get a sense of where this might relate to you, but you have to use your intuition to really understand what this means for you. So here we have patience. It's also kind of a nature theme as well. If you think about the act of gardening, as this angel is doing, it is all about sowing the seeds with no idea whether they're going to grow fruit and bloom. So you have to keep tending to them, of course, and we don't have any control over when they will bloom or if at all they will bloom. So we need to keep doing the work and having patience. So everything takes time, but there's a reason for that, and we just have to kind of trust that things are taking time because they need to. There are things going on behind the scenes we don't know about. Perhaps that soulmate you're trying to manifest is not actually in the right place for a relationship. Maybe they've got stuff to work through at the moment. But keep believing in it and keep working at it. Archangel Jophiel is mentioned on this card, and that is the angel associated with beauty. It doesn't mean superficial. I use Jophiel when I'm struggling with thoughts that are not really helping me you could argue most of what goes on in my brain doesn't actually help me. I'm talking about the real negative thought spirals when I'm going down. I asked Jophiel to beautify my thoughts. That might help you. I'm just trying to think what else I can tell you about this. It's really about your goals and what you're trying to manifest, what you're trying to create in your life, co-create with the universe. It's a long game. The universe plays a long game. Have patience. Do not give up. I think that's probably summarised that message pretty well. So we're going to Sunday now. And let's see what comes up here. Ooh, card just flipped right on over. Oh, miracles. You can't make this up. Miracles. So a very strong theme here for this week is about believing in miracles. Now, sometimes people talk about false hope and they get really confused by, I don't want to believe in something if I don't think it's going to happen, because that would be false hope. And here's the thing with hope. We don't know what's going to happen. And hope is just about believing in it regardless of what's going to happen. So I would say that if you know that things are going to work out well, then it doesn't require you to have hope, does it? Because you already know. It's kind of like reading the last page of the book and then going, oh, now I know it's a good book because I know how it's going to end. That's just not how life works. So it doesn't matter if things work out, if you have hope for something and then it doesn't work out. I mean, I know that's going to be disappointing, but it means that usually something else is coming through that's more important for you to have, and it will make sense later on. Now, I know there are terrible things that happen to people and they don't always fit into this framework, so I have to oversimplify here and say, please don't go, I'm not going to believe in this because I might be disappointed, because that is a really crappy way, a form of self-insurance, I guess. We're trying to keep ourselves safe. I'm not going to hope for something because I might get disappointed. Well, life is about a lot of disappointment, unfortunately. So please don't stop yourself from reaching for things, from believing in things because you want to keep yourself safe from disappointment. It just doesn't work that way. And guess what? You're going to be disappointed anyway if you don't get what you actually want. So, but trust that you will be able to deal with that, because you will, because you're more resilient than what you realize. So believe in those miracles, even though you have no idea what's going to happen, but just hold on to that hope, because then you're opening the window, a sliver, to allow space for the universe to come through. And the universe is capable of much more than what you realize. So I think our beliefs and our faith are super important this week. Those would be the strongest theme. And the patience message kind of ties into that, because just because something isn't happening for you overnight, instantly, doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So please keep the faith on that front. And also this relationship energy is super strong here as well for this week. Working through the blocks that we have towards love on any level, platonic, romantic, family, whatever it is. That's probably enough this week. Please go on my social media. My Instagram is @OneGroundedAngel. My Facebook page is OneGroundedAngel, and you can reach me via my website, which is www.onegroundedangel.com. There is a bookings form there, but you don't actually have to book in. You can go to that and there's a tab that says, I want to find out more information. That's probably the best way to reach me. I'm not so great at checking my DMs because I get some not so great messages in there sometimes. So definitely I recommend the bookings form to reach me. Thanks very much for watching, everybody, and I'll be back next week. Take care.